Let's get down to the action. Hello and welcome to round one. We put these guys on blues decks. We got some blue decks for you. It looks like Steve Menendian is on Pyro Mentor. Probably could have called his deck Jeskai Mentor if he wanted to. I certainly see Jeskai colors in his hand right now. And Rachel has also chosen to go with a deck from the Turbo Xerox family of blue decks. All right, what's going on with the hands? I like that Ancestral Recall card that Rachel's got queued up.
That's one of the better cards in all of Magic.
True story.
He even has the Force of Will to protect it.
Yeah.
Although Steve does not actually have the counter.
Right, and untapped land, you just wait for Steve's upkeep here, right?
Yeah, or for him to fetch, potentially. Or for his end step, apparently.
Apparently. Man,
All right,
Steve's
so
hand is not good.
This is going to get to open her up potentially to this brainstorm finding something like Mental Misstep.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I would have
let it happen.
She floated the mana, waited for him to try to go to combat. Yeah, I would have done this upkeep if I was Rachel, but she gets away with it unless that brainstorm finds a misstep. I mean, Steve obviously has to crack fetch and brainstorm here, right?
Yeah, it seems pretty likely, especially, he is only going to get pinned with a single potential dead draw, having another fetch land in his hand, and he does have Dak Vaden to also discard excess cards, so you don't really need to get max value out of a brainstorm, as opposed to you really don't want this Ancestral to resolve if you can help it.
And there's a basic mountain in Steve's deck. At first I was like, oh, okay, red mana, but basic mountain is...
Yeah, I think he's just playing, it sounds like, kind of a more blue-red deck that just splashes swords and Mentor potentially, and so he's kind of playing, probably a bunch of young Pyromancers, and he might have access to a bunch of Pyroblast main or something similar. We've seen that before.
Pyroblast main has been doing good work all over Magic Online. I don't know, I played a bunch of leagues in the last week trying to shake the rust off, test my deck at least a little bit. You see a lot of main deck Pyroblast for sure. All right, this is on Steve, who should... He's just got to pick... Oh, I guess he's got to decide what land he wants.
I assume he knows what land he wants. I assume something's going on here with maybe his internet. But, yeah. Sure, we'll get it sorted out quickly.
That Stony Silence in Rachel's hand is probably not going to be good in this matchup.
No. It's interesting. I mean, Stony Silence definitely has a wide range of decks it's good against, I guess. And we saw last week players with Stony Silence and Null Rod dueling in their hands where it wasn't good against anyone in that group.
Yup. Yeah, not sure what's up. Could be Steve's internet. Not sure what's going on.
Can we somehow get a live looking at Steve's notepad? Step 1, find a blue land. Step 2, brainstorm. Step 3, find mental misstep.
He's got a list of all the blue lands in his deck, and he's like crossing out the ones he doesn't want, maybe. Nah, yeah, his hand cam disappeared. That sure looks like internet problems.
Well, Rachel's going to need this Ancestral resolve, but of course she does have the Force to protect it. And then she does still have to find lands. I mean, the Tundra is gone. She doesn't have any other cards drawing, although there's probably a ton in her deck. But lands are going to be important.
No, that's a good point. I mean, these decks tend to only have the one strip mine in terms of messing with the other players' lands. I doubt either of them has wastelands, so at some level, Steve was lucky to get the strip, create a low land draw for Rachel. Yeah, she basically just has to hit a land in the top 5 cards. He
could find like a combination of 2 missteps, misstep force, and it's not 0% that he's playing wasteland. It is unlikely in that he's playing a 3-color deck instead of just straight red blue or straight blue red young pyromancer. In which case he probably would be playing a bunch of wastelands. But
what are the odds he's got a wasteland in his deck?
Just 1 or 4?
A single copy of wasteland.
I'd say about 15%.
I have them at 1%. I have them under 1%.
I'd take 100 to 1. I mean, you might be right. It's still Steve. I mean, if it was me, it'd be over 1%.
Sure. So hard to have lands that tap for colorless in these decks, though. 3 colors. You only have like 16.
But you are just adding lands. I mean, you're playing them effectively as spells.
Sure.
I don't think he's playing 16 lands with copies of Wasteland. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
But he could be playing 18 or 19 lands with 1 or 2 Wastelands.
You could.
Yeah,
I don't put Steve on doing that.
A person could.
One could, yes.
Magic.
Any questions from the chat while we try to get Steve's internet sorted out here? Apologize for the relative lack of action so far, but these things happen. Chat is talking about vintage goblins? What on earth?
I've got the tools to start building an old school goblin deck for Athena.
Nice!
4 beta goblin kings ready to go. Problem is they did not print a lot of goblins.
No, like Mon's Goblin Raider definitely makes the cut.
Goblin Balloon Brigade is kind of your MVP.
Right. The Dark is surprisingly useful to the old school goblins deck.
Right. I mean, this is including the Dark. I mean, you get Goblins of the Flarg, one of, Magic's premier threats.
Do you have Goblin Caves?
I think
enchant land. I think it gives toughness or something. Goblin War Drums is surprisingly good, by the way. I would definitely. I mean, it says it's obviously not actually a Goblin tribal card, but Goblin in the name. Also, I think it's actually actively good in that deck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how to build the deck. I asked Athena what old school deck she would most want to play, and she just responded with goblins. I'm like, well, that's not a thing, but okay.
Done.
And I don't actually think you want to play very many goblins. I think you play the 1-drops and the Goblin Kings, and then you just go with like Ironclaw Orcs, Gauntlet of Might, and some burn spells, and you just like, all right, here we go.
Reasonable. So Rachel did get to resolve her Ancestral. She didn't find any Moxen or anything. Mystic Remora has now entered play. That is always a good time.
No lands and no card drawing.
Yeah,
that's a bad combination of things to find.
She discarded the Stony Silence, which is fine. I mean, she didn't really get punished for going up over 8 cards.
Well, she's going to keep discarding.
Okay, now she's getting punished, yeah.
This Remora is effectively a discard. I mean, it's just going to the graveyard next turn.
Wow. Yeah, she had 5 shots at a land, and then this hand would have been totally playable. She's now 0 for 6.
She does have a good amount of permission, and Steve has a low amount of threats, so that's all good. But she's on 1 land. I mean, if she finds another land, she gets to put Jason to play. But, I mean, Steve has Sword, she has Misstep, but I assume she's going to Misstep this Preordain right now.
I assume.
So what's probably going to happen is Preordain gets Misstep, Dakfaden gets forced, and both players are pretty close to empty because Rachel has to find the land to play the Jace, and then she has to decide whether she wants to blow Big Jace and her last force on, or I guess she would already have used them. She might discard Dakfaden. So she would have Force of Will to potentially stop the swords, but Steve would have like 5 cards in hand. I don't even know if you want to do that. It's kind of a weird spot.
Yeah. Pays the blue for the misstep. Steve's obviously going to play his Dakfaden here. She has to force. The only question is what you discard.
Yeah, I assume it's a 4-mana spell.
I think I agree. It's Big Jace. Also, the Jaces aren't friends yet. We have another, 18 hours from now, you'll be able to have both Jaces in play at the same time, but not until tomorrow's downtime when they change the rules with Ixalan.
You get to all live the dream.
Library of Alexandria. It's like, where were you last heard when I had 7 cards? All right, fine. We're happy to see you, Library. You are half the mana for Ringe Prodigy. Wow. Forces the plow on JVP.
Well,
he is an ancestral.
Yeah, Steve just didn't find action. I mean, he does have the misstep for the ancestral, which is nice.
Yep.
But he's also on empty.
Well, the misstep I think is huge because she's on empty too as soon as ancestral trades for misstep.
She is on empty, but she does have a planeswalker to play. It's not the best planeswalker. It'll take a couple turns before it does anything of relevance again, but it is there.
There's nothing to flash back in her yard.
Is there really just nothing? I guess she's drawn all Force of Will. She hasn't even drawn a Preordain or anything yet. No?
Right. The ancestral was, that's why she used an ancestral Force of Will to defend it. Interesting. So we're basically top decking now. Both players have mana, but all their spells have canceled out.
That's a good draw.
That is a good draw.
Steve looking for a card that says the word delve on it.
Young Pyro, not bad. It's not going to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, do we know what he did with the other card? I assume Young Pyro got put on top, but if he put another card on top, he's in business.
Fair.
If he didn't, we're still top decking.
Yeah, although not sure why we have...
He can't have very many lands left.
True. Yeah, it looks like... Bottomed and topped, it sounds like. It looks like we accidentally have Steve's hand showing through on Rachel's side of the board. We'll try to get that fixed for you. Oh, she doesn't have white mana, does she? She's got a plow in her hand and another plow in the graveyard, but no white mana. So this Young Pyro gets to live.
That's Trip Mine doing work.
Oh, how about Dig Through Time off the top?
That's a good one.
That's one of those cards that say the word delve you were talking about. They seem really good here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So this should be white source business spell.
She doesn't really even need a white source yet. I mean, she's also just loading up the graveyard, and Jace's can just flash back this dig in a turn or so. Like,
I mean, sure, but it's still, Young Pyro can actually get out of control. And I guess she knows Steve isn't holding anything to trigger it with, or he would have already done it.
Right.
Yeah, she continues to draw cards. She's actually got back on the library now. 8 cards in her hand.
Oh, that's crazy.
But no white mana.
I guess Gush just does that. I was just thinking, like, the dig only put up to 4. That's not that much. It's like, oh yeah, that Gush card. It's a good one. Gush and Library. Not bad.
She commits to Island to get down to 7. Draws Scalding Tarn. So now she's got white mana next turn.
I mean, even Pyromancer's got to get so out of control before, you're beating active Planeswalker, active Library, 7 cards, man. But all right, let's start.
Both players have drawn their Stony Silence.
Oh yeah. Well, at least Steve gets the Ting Jace. I like how he's drawn Stony Silence and Black Lotus, which some of the few cards that Young Pyro does not trigger off of that do trigger Monastery Mentor.
Well, he plays the Stony, desperately trying to slow her down. She finds a Tundra, she draws off Library, down goes Young Pyromancer. Seems like the floodgates are now open.
Yeah, it's just not really realistic for Steve to win this game. What sequence does he need? I guess she is light on counter magic. Like, this Flusterstorm is pretty mediocre. Steve is flooded. So even she could cast Flusterstorm, Snap Flusterstorm, but that would only counter one spell. She doesn't have access to much in the way of counter magic, so it is possible for something like Ancestral or Treasure Cruise to actually resolve.
Yeah,
and at that point, at least he's making progress. I don't know if that puts him even close to being ahead, let alone in the game. But.
Yeah. I mean, Steve did draw the main deck Pyroblast we suspected he would have. At least there's no Planeswalker. There is, though, a grip full of cards.
Yeah, I mean, Dak Faden and Jace the Mind Sculptor, I think, both got victims of Force of Will, so she's not going to be super heavy on threats left in her deck. So I guess, if you can find enough answers that you could potentially resolve them, something. Unlikely, but, still a chance.
God, so much hate for the hypothetical paradoxical outcome deck. Last week we saw 3 people on Leovold, and the 4th guy had Stony Silence. This week, Stony on both sides. There's a Mind Break Trap in Rachel's main deck. So hateful.
Just gotten to use this library a lot of times.
Seems like, it felt good to strip mine that Tundra, but strip mine's also my only answer to the library. I was totally right. He had a window of several turns there where, she was discarding to hand size because he stripped her Tundra. God, now there's a Treasure Cruise. Like, if Rachel could just reveal her hand, Steve might pack it up.
Yeah, we've been in spots like this before. Steve has usually had these hands.
Sure.
When crazy things have happened. Steve and Shuhei are the ones who had the 7 cards versus the nothing in past seasons where crazy games happened.
Fair. All right. Steve can hardcast Force of Will because of all those lands. That'll stop the Treasure Cruise, but whatever. The library has already delivered 1 or 2 boatfuls of gold and will continue as we go. She says, I want my Mox Ruby back, and I don't want to discard. Oh, it gives her hardcast Force of Will. So effectively she gets to pitch Black Lotus as the card for Force of Will now. So that's not nothing. I assume there's creatures in her deck.
Yeah, I assume Jeskai Mentor probably plays Mentor, but I don't know for sure. I mean, she's got a Snapcaster in hand.
Right. She might not have much else, though. This looks like a pretty control-ish version of the Turbo.
Like we've seen Jace the Mind Sculpt, we've seen Jace Film's Prodigy, we've seen Dak Faden, but all 3 of those are gone.
We've seen multiple Flusterstorms. We've seen Mind Break Trap. There's not a lot of room for creatures left.
Right. So, I mean, it may be down to just the Mentor and potentially like another Snapcaster, another little Jace. Very good chance she has more Planeswalkers, in the Dak Faden and Jace the Mind Sculptor range. Potentially 1 or 2 more of those. So I assume she has more threats than just the Mentor, but I'm also not sure she needs more threats than just the Mentor.
I mean, she needs something. This Snapcaster was probably capable of winning the game.
She's cast Dig Through Time, and well, I guess she's shuffled since then. I was going to say, she didn't put the Mentor on the bottom, and even at second to the bottom, she's going to win this game, so.
Sure. There are actually only 18 cards left in Rachel's library.
So you're saying she'll find Mentor fairly soon?
So I'm going to guess it's in the top 11. Oh, she shuffled after the
fetch lands, I think. I mean, she might not have. I don't see them in her graveyard. I guess she has Treasure Cruise, so they probably exiled the fetch lands.
She's like, really? Am I defending my Snapcaster? Yup. Hardcast Mind Break Trap. And now, does she have to plow the stupid elemental token to clear a path? Is that the world we live in? Or is she just... No, I want my Treasure Cruise. Dig Through Time, sure. Even better.
That should speed it up. We haven't... I guess there was 1 from Steve. 1 main deck Pyro so far.
Yep. Eric and I are both going through our heads about what this means for our decks and matchups later in the evening. We'll have the lists by then, though. Just interesting to speculate about. Snapcaster's like, you want to trade 2 for 1? Sure. Yeah, main deck Pyro from Rachel now as well. And there is the Monastery Mentor.
All right, so we are finally done with game 1.
Not only she can trigger it a lot, Steve has to cast
It's a 2/2. It doesn't need any abilities.
It's true.
I mean, I think she has lethal with just the spells in her hand, just casting Swords, Pyroblast, Misstep it. I mean, I guess she can just cast Swords, a token, Pyroblast, nothing, and untap. And she actually has to have another spell.
She can Misstep her Swords and Pyroblast that.
Right, I was trying to figure out a way to make tokens and then actually pump them on your turn by casting something and misstepping it, but you can't actually make too many tokens. Right. I guess you can Flusterstorm and then Flusterstorm right now.
Or you can just give him a draw step because whatever.
Also an option. Rachel actually does have Strip Mine and Library, not the most common.
Good
See
point.
Both colorless lands.
This deck seems much more reasonable to me now with only the one Mentor. You know, like I watched Rich last week go 2-1 with essentially the deck that both of these are playing. This match hasn't looked degenerate the way the 3 or 4 Mentor version of the deck can look.
Right. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, played against Mentor so many times last season.
Right.
Also, I think I played the most matches you could possibly play last season with the play in whatever the middle round was called, wild card into playoffs and whatnot. I think I played like 15 matches, and the only times where the Mentor deck just really wasn't remotely fun to play against when you basically face turn 1 Mentor or similar. And so
yeah, it's an interesting interactive deck as long as they don't play the Mentor on the first or second turn.
Yeah, if they play turn 1 Mentor Force of Will or turn 1 Mentor Ancestral,
like,
all on the same turn, you're just like, okay, cool.
All right, is this lethal? So Pyroblast, Misstep my Pyro, Pyro my Misstep. 3 triggers. It's like 9 damage, 11 damage. We'll finish him off next turn. It's not like Steve's gonna have a sweeper in that deck. He's gonna have an Ancestral that she just lets resolve. Sure, can't Flusterstorm it. Doesn't want to force it.
What if he had a main deck Supreme Verdict and she just doesn't have any other way to win? It's not.
No, you're right.
Probably
it's not
even,
insane.
Probably even less likely than the Wasteland bet that you were talking about on turn 1, but also not 0.
Steve had a balance in his main deck.
Yeah, that one couldn't resolve though. She had the counter magic, but you let the Ancestral resolve and you find the uncounterable spell, and things get bad.
Neither one of them has access to a Supreme Verdict. That's definitely a nice mirror breaker for this matchup. I don't know, they may not have been expecting quite so many decks in this vein.
I think that actually just would have been game over just because I don't think that even like a Jace the Mind Sculptor could have won in time. She just didn't have enough cards in her deck.
She had 2 more Snapcasters.
Oh, never mind.
I mean, I see 3 in her deck now.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she only went through 1 Snapcaster, and there's 3 in her list.
I agree.
All right.
Wow.
Rachel Agnes leads 1-0. Here we go with game 2.
Well, Rachel's draw, I mean, it doesn't have a colored mana in her hand, but she has Lotus and Library. It's pretty absurd.
Library on the draw is good times.
I mean, Steve does have turn 1 Gas. Like he actually has no way in his hand to trigger the Young Pyro, so I don't actually know what his turn one play is going to be. But
you might play JVP here. I would still Young
Yeah.
Pyro.
I think I actually would play the Jace.
Interesting. Let's see what he does. No, library. Oh, there's Scalding Tarn. Now she's got permanent colored mana. Play the Black Lotus for now. She could crack this to get through Preordain. I don't think that makes sense.
It's not super exciting.
Yeah, I think you just passed with 7 cards.
Well, casting Preordain does still leave you with 7 cards if you don't run into a counter. And even if you run into a misstep, you still draw up to 7 cards.
Right. That's why I saw it as a thing. The thing she really wants to do, though, is she would love to be able to plow Young Pyro. There's no way she can.
So casting Preordain does give you more access to being able to find potentially like a misstep or some way to protect your Swords to Blaster for next turn, which is nice.
Well, she came up with Flooded Strand into, is that Time Walk? Yeah, Time Walk.
I don't know what she would have done if she found Monk's Pearl.
Right.
Whether she would have gone down in cards to cast that Swords. But, I mean, Steve still hasn't found something that he can cast. Although she doesn't have an answer to either of these creatures yet. She's got the Swords that she can cast next turn, but...
Yeah, she still had the Lotus. She could Snapcaster Swords. I guess it's hard to get the mana to work. It could have.
Yeah, I mean, she also has Time Walk.
Right. Alright, draws a card. Yeah, I think she's going to plow once. And then next turn she can draw Time Walk, draw, plow. Something along those lines. Snap the plow, I mean.
Yeah, that does put her crazy far ahead again.
She agreed with you that JVP was the scarier threat. That's the one she pointed her plow at. If Young Pyro was going to go
play
nuts,
a spell.
Right. If Young Pyro was going to go nuts, it would have last turn probably. On cue, Steve draws the Preordain to trigger. And she just has to watch and hope this doesn't get too far out of control.
Yeah, this is Steve's chance. If he finds something, an ancestral type card here, he's got a chance to actually pull reasonably far ahead.
Finds a Pyroblast.
It's good, but like Steve definitely hasn't lost this game yet. I mean, he's very far behind in cards, but he is the one applying the pressure right now, and she does have to find the answers. And she's got some, but they're not fantastic. So, she can draw a card to the library here, cast Time Walk. Steve pyros that. He's coming in for 4. It's a reasonable amount of damage, but she still gets to go snap Swords next turn, get rid of the Pyro, trade with an Elemental if she wants. And then he's just down to a 1/1. She's still at like 11 or 10 or, something in that range. That's just not very far ahead.
Yeah, I think do you snap off this Pyroblast on the Time Walk? When there's a library on the other side of the table and you have Young Pyro, no doubt.
Well, he needs to find another action spell, like an action spell being something like Preordain or Gush would be fantastic, or just anything that can draw him some more cards to make. If he can make a couple elementals this turn, or even just find another counter, like a Pyroblast this turn will be quite good.
He needs to stop. He needs to stop next turn's Snapcaster Mage. That's what he needs to do.
I guess, is the best draw. No, Preordain's great. All right.
Time Walk is a great draw. Definitely drawing live.
Well, Preordain has it, before you see the 2 cards, he might just be a favorite. There's so many good hits in this deck that getting the option to effectively see 3 cards is so good. Plus it puts, cards in the graveyard, so he finds Treasure Cruise, it's on. Dak Faden, well, that's interesting. I don't know how good Dak Faden is. It's certainly good.
I think I would rather have had a cantrip, but...
Yeah, I agree too, but like the problem is, what if you see deactivate and land? What do you do?
Right.
Like you kind of have to keep that deactivating that you can cast.
All right, he activates it immediately. Comes up with a second Young Pyromancer. All right, so Rachel's going to be at 11. She just draw the 7 cards. She gets a library card. She's got a Force of Will now. That's great. So if she can go
quite
snap,
good, but it will likely take her off library.
Yes, if she has to play it. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be Snapcaster for Plow, presumably. She could Snapcaster for Time Walk.
Yeah.
Which one do you do?
Time Walk. I mean, she has another Snapcaster and Treasure Cruise, so she can see 1,000,000 cards next turn.
I like it. Yeah, the second Snapcaster is very likely to go for a Plow.
She gets another draw.
Oh, another Plow.
It's interesting.
She gets to just sit on her Snapcaster.
It's interesting, yeah. The deck phase is going to stick around, it looks like, for a turn, although she's might just cash in this Treasure Cruise. She's going to have cards like Pyroblast in her deck where she finds them. They're pretty, I mean, they're really good. Steve's still going to have a lot of draws, though. There's another Pyro in his hand. She has the option to Force of Will it, but Force of Willing Young Pyro hurts.
She plays a land, so down to 6 cards. Going to attack is red mana.
Okay.
Oh, this drops her to 5 cards? Oh, but the Treasure Cruise can get her back on the library, no problem.
There's
this is
a slight
cute.
problem, because if she uses Force of Will, she's back off.
It's a cute line, though, where she clears a path and is able to pressure Dak. Now if Steve attacks with his elementals, Dak is going to die. I like this line. Yeah, she only has a Force of Will to defend herself with. And if she uses it, then she'll be off the library next turn. Oh. She's still on the Treasure Cruise, so she lets Young Pyro resolve, wants to keep the Force of Will. Yeah, if you're willing to get Young Pyro resolve, you're definitely willing to let your Snap get plowed. This feels like nice interactive Magic. I mean, that library card seems kind of ridiculous, but
does that one seem good? Yeah, it's fair.
Steve's Dak finds a Gush. Always a favorite card from Menendian.
If only someone could teach him how to use it.
Force of Will, no blue card's not really where he wants to be. Yeah, I guess you fragmentize the Pearl.
Yeah, you're not going to have a lot of good targets, and it represents a 1/1 creature, which is just really good here. I mean, he's got a real board presence.
Oh, yeah. I don't think
this Cruise is going to resolve, though.
Yeah. I don't think there's any sweepers in Rachel's deck. She's going to deal with all of those 1/1s. She basically needs her mentor. That's the way she deals with all these dorky little 1/1s. All right, Treasure Cruise, and let's see. It's going to crack a fetch first so that she can exile weaker cards and wind up on 7. There's a Plow.
It's a good start.
Yeah, those 5/1/1s are very relevant.
Her Time Walk is gone too, which is a pretty powerful card.
I mean, she's seen basically half her library at this point. Mm-hmm. But there's only the one mentor, and she needs it.
She's drawn like 7 cards off library now, right?
Yeah, well, it's turn 6. She's drawn 6 cards.
Yep.
No,
she time walked.
Time walk turn. You're right. It's 7.
No, the Time Walk actually got Pyroblasted, I think. No, she flashed it back with the Snap, right?
Right.
That resolved?
She resolved it one of the 2 times. There we go. Monastery Mentor says, I got you. I can clean this mess up. Next turn, it'll all be good.
All right, so we should ban this card.
Oh, whatever. It's like a tinker or a tendrils or.
This is actually interesting. The dig through time is pretty great, but he would have to discard 2 blue cards so that he had the Tundra actually cast it, which means that he wouldn't have force backup. So that's kind of a big problem.
Yeah, I agree.
So I assume he just can't cast this dig. The question is then, do you want to keep the dig in your hand as, you know, a card to potentially pitch to Force of Will, plus to cast, you know, if you get the opportunity because it's so good. This is an interesting discard.
Force Ponder Misstep seems like a reasonable keep.
Yeah, totally. But the question is, if the Ponder is going to be your discard, but you'd rather resolve dig next turn, do you just keep the dig and discard the Ponder? And discard, you know, obviously the Ponder you could cast, but if you're not going to, then, you know, I think it's interesting.
Sure. Yeah, if you keep Force Ponder Misstep, it should be because you plan to cast the Ponder right now.
Right. And so your odds of being able to find the lands, should you want to next turn, are pretty high, assuming Dark Maiden lives, which you have no reason to believe it won't, although that could change pretty quickly with
So what's your play?
5 or 7 cards. No, that's
What
exactly what I'm saying. It's tough. It's interesting. I think that your original, what you said, the Force Ponder Misstep seems like a good hand to have, but I might just amend it and keep it Force Misstep Dig for the exact same reasons. But yeah, you can go any number of routes. Like maybe you just discard Force and you try to get aggressive.
Wow. Discard Force Misstep? It's Force Ponder if you're doing that, right?
I think so.
Keep land, dig, and...
I don't like discarding Misstep here in any real capacity.
Yeah,
discarding Force seems fine because, you know, your Force is probably just going to get buried by something anyway. I mean, that's kind of just stinks for you, but it is what it is.
Force Misstep. He kept the Ponder and the dig.
Oh, and the Tundra.
Right, and the Tundra.
So...
I mean, she doesn't have Pyro up. I mean, I get that part.
Yeah, I mean, getting a Force here does take her off library. Yeah, at least for the time being.
Yeah, and she does not
I
hesitate.
don't know if I like discarding Mindbreak Trap. I guess it's close. His card could be Pyro, so you don't really want to discard the Misstep, and the Brainstorm's kind of your only action, but...
I think it's Mindbreak Trap.
Yeah, the Mindbreak Trap is on right now, though, so, like, I think you actually want to discard the Misstep, because even if he has Pyro, you can just Mindbreak Trap. Or does Mindbreak Trap exile all spells? No, you get to choose the spells, right?
Well, it wasn't on anyway. The only spell he cast that turn was
Death Maiden was just being used. It wasn't actually.
Precisely. Right, so she has to trade Snapcaster.
We had so much decision making, I assumed it was a Brainstorm.
Oh, Dig Through Time. Is that a good card? Interesting. I think you just go Mentor into... Oh, she's going to go land dig and then still have library? I might actually tap library for colorless here.
Fine with it.
I think I want to cast my Brainstorm and my dig, right? You need blockers, Rachel.
Yeah, 5 life is not a lot of lives.
I'm tapping library for colorless. It hurts. You can see her thinking about it.
I think I'm pretty far ahead of everyone else for how many times I've tapped library for colorless in this league, but I got no issue. When I'm tapping it for colorless, though, I'm doing something good, and she's doing some good things.
Monastery Mentor counts as something good, for sure.
That I agree with.
There we go.
All right.
And now, are you waiting to dig at instant speed? Or are you just going to resolve it now? I guess he's not really tapped out since he's got a Ruby. But he can't fluster.
Yeah, I don't see what digging at instant speed really gets me. I mean, the first thing he's going to do is activate DAC, and then you're going to dig. So let's dig now. I mean, it's possible we end up playing a Mox or something. Another spell that, you know, if the dig is not great. I assume we're just going to cast the Brainstorm too, so I'm just going to see what we actually find. Brainstorm more likely to find something like a Mox.
7 spells. Pick your poison.
All right.
I assume it's Force of Will. And what's the other one?
I can't see. I can see some Jaces in there, but that's all.
Yeah, she took Chase. She declined a Snapcaster. and a Flusterstorm to Mind Sculptor. I would save the Brainstorm to do it instant speed, just like she is. Like, you need your monks to actually survive combat.
Yeah.
Her life total's low enough that she doesn't really want to lose a monk. I mean, even with the Brainstorm, it's like a trade, win 2 fights and take them.
The brutal part is that Steve, like, he can't just cast this Ponder here, or he just can't win, basically. I mean, she gets to cast Misstep, and her team grows, and she gets another monk. It's just brutal. Although she is at 5 life. I mean, Misstep, she really does need to spend the mana on, and Force of Will, even that 1 life is, that's 20%. Like, that's not nothing.
I think I would actually pay life for Misstep if he leads Ponder. Because you have the Brainstorm to make another monk, if you're sort of only paying 1 life for the Misstep. I don't know.
Sort of. The question is, if you cast Misstep with mana, whether he can actually play, like, whether he can even attack. Like, I don't think he can. And if he attacks it, like, and you still have Force of Will potentially, I would pay the mana for the Misstep here, but whatever. It's not super important.
Seems like the Mentor got here just in time.
It is good timing, yeah.
I think that was the last possible turn. Like, I don't know that she couldn't take another hit. Maybe she could have stitched together some sort of Snapcaster, Plow versus Elementals, but basically she needed the 1 Mentor. Now, she has seen well over half her library, so.
And there's Gush.
Jeez. Yeah, Gush means she takes nothing, and she goes to her next turn with 3 attackers.
Yeah, it means all those things.
That should do it.
Also, she has a million cards in hand again. Also, library's on. Also, she can kill Dark Vaden. Also, she has Force of Will and swords.
All right. Looks like Rachel is going to... Does look like Rachel's going to take this first game, huh?
Yeah.
First match?
And the second game.
Yeah, first match. I mean.
Did they play this matchup multiple times in the play-in?
Oh, they might have.
I'm trying to remember the play-in from last season. I know the end. At the end, it was Rachel versus Steve, but I think they actually played before that because it was double elimination.
Right.
I can't remember exactly what the pairings were and whether they were both kind of playing this style of deck or not, but that's how I remember it, at least. They've already just played this matchup so many times.
All right. Well, you already admitted to me that you're not on Mentor, right? And I've admitted that I'm not on Mentor. So we're not going to have a 3 of a kind week like last week, that's for sure. I don't know what you're actually on, but...
You and I are just going to play a Mentor Mirror.
We're just lying to each other. And
both made it up.
I would not refer to either of these decks as spicy. Good, solid, safe, not spicy.
Mild. Nothing wrong with some good mild magic.
I mean, I am jealous of how many times Rachel has tapped that Library of Alexandria, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she might be in first place in the history of VSL on most library activations, despite having played 15% as many matches as some people.
Certainly most in a match between this game and last game.
It's crazy.
I know you've been having fun with VSL lifetime statistics, huh? You figured out that you have both the most wins and also the most losses in VSL history?
Yeah, that's part of the what's going to happen when you have the most matches played by an absurd number.
These best 3 out of 5 playoff rounds will definitely give you an edge on the rest of us who've played every season, huh?
Yeah, my lifetime number of matches played in the playoffs is 42.
Wow.
Which is basically 5 seasons.
That's
the other thing is that not only I've made the playoffs every year, but I've also done it at a very poor seed. So I've had to play a ridiculous number of matches.
Funny.
I've come back from being fourth a couple times.
And Rachel needed 2 attack phases to clean things up. But yeah, Monastery Mentor showed up, does what it does, and Rachel Agnes takes the first match, defeats Steve Menendian. The two of them will be back in the booth to do commentary right after this break. Eric and I are going to go get ready to show off what we brought to the table. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Need the latest Magic the Gathering singles for Constructed, casual cards for the kitchen table, or sealed product for a draft night with your friends? CoolStuffInc.com has what you're looking for. With an extensive selection of singles, sealed, and supplies, free shipping on orders of $100 or more, a 25% buy list bonus, and our ever-popular customer rewards program, CoolStuffInc.com is a one-stop shop for all your Magic the Gathering needs.